Hi, this is Janey, Imaani, and welcome to Emotional Awareness. So let's have a look at the question that we'll be answering today. Dear Janey, my best friend has been divorced for the past 3 years, but she's still extremely angry and difficult to be around. I feel terrible for even saying this, but I'm exhausted from hearing the same stories over and over again. I try not to show it, but I often feel overwhelmed by her sadness and negativity. I love her dearly and I want to help her and be more empathic, but I don't know how. So I got this story last week and I really had to share it because it honestly highlights the person's contradictory feelings they feel or they're experiencing when trying to help someone that they love. So she talks about how she feels a responsibility, want to help her, but then she feels overwhelmed. She talks about how much she cares, but then she feels exhausted for having to go around in circles again and again. And so, obviously it's a noble act to try to help somebody, but we can't downplay how exhausting and challenging it actually is. And unless we're exceptionally aware of our ego, we can make so many mistakes and end up causing more damage than good. So I thought for today's video, what we could do is really look at some of the errors that we do make. Okay, so the first one is competing and comparing. So that's when we confuse connection as an opportunity to one-up your friend. So this might sound foul, but it does happen very frequently. So you're witnessing your friend going through hardship and it's making you feel very uncomfortable, right? Knowing that unfortunate things happen to people that are close to us now means that they're more likely to happen to us, or that it's more possible they will happen to us. So your friend's getting divorced and you deeply fear divorce. And so now you're going to ask her questions to see how you would have done it differently. And you're asking her questions to look for a hint of how you would have prevented it if it was you. And this is our way of distancing ourselves from that situation and our way of trying to protect ourselves from the sort of vulnerability and insecurity of the other person suffering. Okay, so mistake number 2 that we can make is getting an ego boost. So you pat yourself on the back for helping your friend. And the reason why this one is dangerous is because when people go through tribulation, there's a lot of back and forth, and it's very common to look like they are stuck in the same place for the long periods of time. And so, one day you're helping your friend and she looks like she's made some progress, and you pat yourself on the back and you think you've done a good job. And then 1 week goes by and you're having the same conversation about the same thing and it looks like they didn't move at all. So this can get very frustrating because progress can look very slow from the outside. So in those circumstances, it's really important to sort of have a detachment to the outcome, but an attachment to just helping them feel connected. So mistake number 3 is resentment for feeling overburdened. So give yourself permission to take a break from helping your friend if it's getting too much for you. Because if they feel your resentment, then they would feel worse about themselves. And obviously that's not what you want. Okay, so mistake number 4 is having sympathy, right? So sympathy is the opposite of empathy. Sympathy is I feel sorry for you. So rather than empathy, which is I get it, I feel with you, I've been there. So empathy is me too. And empathy comes from a place of humbleness where we recognize that what happened to them could have happened to us as well. And that's what gives them hope, knowing that they're not alone. But putting ourselves in those vulnerable situations really takes a lot of humility, and that's sometimes very difficult to practice. So there are so many more mistakes that we honestly do make, but these are just some of them. But what your friend really needs, or what a friend really needs, is a good listener. And a good listener is somebody who listens until they disappear, right? It's not about what you would have done differently, and it's not about giving the other person advice. Helping somebody is really an exercise in watching your own ego, and a good listener has a well-trained ego and they're continuously self-correcting themselves. So and humility is obviously so important, because even with good intentions we could really cause great harm, and the safest people to be around are always the one who know how disruptive they can be. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you tune in next Wednesday for another episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe and share or follow, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.